good morning, everybody. Welcome to Stock Analysis Friday. Great to have everybody here. If you have any audio problems or anything like that during the presentation, just let us know in the comments area. And don't forget, Stock Analysis Friday is all about you. It's about looking up stocks and ETFs that you're interested in having analyzed from a technical perspective. Maybe you got a call from your broker or you're just interested in a particular stock. Let me know and we'll look it up and see how it looks technically. Also, too, please put, 3 at a time, I think what we do here. All caps is good so I can make sure I see them clearly. All right, let me just go through a few administrational items while you guys are getting ready on your end. First thing, of course, we have to go over are the risks involved in trading the financial markets. There is risks. We want you to realize that. There's no guarantees in the market. We work in a realm of probabilities. So that's important to realize. And past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. So anything that we also recommend, don't forget, it's my opinion based off my experience in trading the markets, but run that by your financial advisor or whoever is managing your money to be sure it's suitable for you. I don't know your personal situation, and they certainly do. Also, too, when you go into any type of investment or trade, know what the possible risk is that you're getting involved in. That's super important. Just don't blindly go into anything without understanding the downside. Know, of course, how to limit that as much as possible. We do that through risk control processes. And also always trade with money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. If you need help in the risk arena, knowing how to calculate your risk on each and every trade or investment, I have several books available on money management. They're in front of you there. I'll put a link in the description below on the recording if you're interested in going to our YouTube or our Amazon page, rather, and ordering those. My new book, The Art of Trading, came out just this year. Reviews are coming in really good. Glad to hear it. I put a lot of effort in this book, and it's about 600 and I guess it's 8 pages long. So it's a comprehensive book, basically outlining everything a trader needs to know to get involved in trading or investing in the financial markets. And then I've got a book on Elliott Wave as well. Now, we also have software, and you're probably going to see that on some of the charts we look at today. This is software that we developed here at traderscoach.com, and I've been using now for, I guess, close to, 25 years. And I've been trading for over 30 years and developed the software in the late 1990s. And it has been used ever since. And it's being used now by hedge funds and traders throughout the world in over 80 countries. So a lot of people are on board, and we have charting software, we have scanners, and we have risk control software. All right, and then finally, give us a like and welcome. All right, so let's jump in. I do want to, before we get into individual stocks, I do want to take a quick look at the markets overall and give you a little quick synopsis on that. So we have the S&P 500 here in front of you, and on the left-hand side is a daily chart. On the right-hand side is the weekly chart. And when we look at this here, we can see the dive down it took towards the spring here, and then the recovery that we're in now. So now the question is, what's going to happen next? And right now, we're probably at a pretty critical point in the markets overall, and we have a lot of enthusiasm built into stocks like NVIDIA that's recovering, and Tesla and things like that. So that's going to all help. We did have an ABC correction that completed, so that was good. And so we had another move back up here. We have a green PTF here. This is one of our indicators, and it has a 75% accuracy rate. So when it's green, it means higher highs are coming. And since it's on the daily chart, that will happen usually before what happens on the chart on the right, which is the longer term weekly chart. Now, notice on the weekly chart, we have a red one of these things. All right. So that's kind of interesting. So what that means is that more highs followed by more lows. All right. So we'll see how that goes. Now, that could mean we make another all-time high in the market and then sell off. or we turn around here abruptly and move back down. All right, so we're going to have to see how the market kind of acts over the next week or so. One of the things that is kind of interesting here is we've got some areas here where we have what they call a fair value gap that we're hitting up right against to right now. And that's this area here in the weekly chart. We went a little past it, which is actually a good sign, but then we reversed back into it. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We have a small one up here as well. So we're going to see how the market responds to that. Now, the other one I want to take a look at is the NASDAQ. And so give me a second on that. And let's bring that up for everybody, because the NASDAQ, has the big tech stocks in it. And we want to pay attention to those because we really feel the big tech stocks are on their way to new highs. So with the NASDAQ here, we have a very similar situation with the indicators below. We now have a green PTF, but a red one long term. And on this chart here, we have the same type of situation where we're butting up against some structure now in terms of fair value gap. So same similar thing as before. So I think we'll probably get a little bit of a pullback. We even have a gap, if you'll notice, right in here. Okay, we may go ahead and fill that, and then we'll see if the market bounces back off that. And then finally, just a quick view of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It was pretty much on a tear recently, and you can see that over here. And the tear was inside a very, very momentum-based channel, and we just broke down past that. And what's interesting about this chart is we have a red PTF sitting here on the chart on the left-hand side. So, that's kind of interesting. That dictates kind of like we're getting ready for another move down. So we're going to have to pay attention with the markets here and see exactly when that next move down is coming. But we certainly had enough of a run back up here that we may just get a pullback halfway with more highs. So we kind of are going to be interesting to see how this unfolds over the next week or two, but we'll keep an eye on it. And if you are a subscriber to our More report, you know that we have the specific levels listed for you. All right. Well, with that out of the way, let's get going here. All right. Hopefully also too, Bitcoin now is sitting at 109.5. So hopefully many of you were able to get into that when we designated the buy alert on that on the last big move down that was a retracement. So we should now make new highs in Bitcoin at some point, I think, over the next 6 months, I believe. All right, so let's take a look and see what we got here. Welcome, everybody. All right, I think, Al, you're the first one here with stocks. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, DHI. Now, I think we looked at this one also last week, so short on this one. And at this particular point, we had a rebound on it, and then it sold off again. So it's kind of sitting right at a particular area where we should have, I would think, some support here. It's come back down. It turns a liquidity. You've got a couple areas for liquidity here. You had one here. It took that out. You have a major one here, and then you have the short-term one here. So this will be interesting to see. If it takes this liquidity out, it probably is going down further to this level here. Let me enlarge this chart just a teeny bit and take a look and see if we had any fair value gaps on this move up. And we did right here. Okay, so let me draw that in here. Okay, and you can see that right there. Okay, so we kind of went down through that, but we did not take out any of the lows. So this is the next area of structure right here where you had consolidation and order blocks. So this is going to be kind of interesting with this. We want to see if we get a rebound here. Either we're going to get one or we're not. So your short position probably should have a stop, I would think, somewhere up in here. All right, so if you're short there, keep that in mind. We have a bearish fair value gap here and here as well. All right. So it's very possible we go into that fair value gap, turn around and head back down as well. So a stop up in that level where I said is probably the safest spot for you to have a stop on a short trade. All right. So there you have it. All right. Let's take a look at LEN, which you're also short on. All right. So basically, both of these shorts, I don't know exactly when you went in them, but I think you've been in them for a little while. You're kind of at the end of both of those shorts. Even if they go down a teeny bit more like on that other one, it's already going down a lot. Okay. So you got to kind of be a little, you want to ratchet your stops up a little tighter. So on this one here, let's just take a quick look here. We took out a major equity sitting right here. Okay. So that's kind of interesting. We have more equity down here and here. And it looks to me like on this case here, this owl was higher than this one. So that's an indication we'll probably get a 50% retracement on this. So I would say you're pretty darn close at this point for a target there. And even if you move this back to here, you're sitting in the target here. So I'd have your stop pretty close on this. Yeah, you could stay short, but you could also just simply have a stop either right here or draw a trend line, okay? Like that. All right, if it breaks the trend line, I would think about getting out, okay? All right, so that's kind of where we are on those. All right, thanks. All right, and Al's back with GME for long. Let's take a look at that. This GME is GameStop. Give that a second to load. All right, let's see what we're going through on this. So now this is moving up here pretty nicely. All right, so I think when we looked at this last time, we kind of wanted to have a break above this consolidation area in here. Actually, it's all the way back in here. So that's what that red line's for. We kind of are waiting for a break above that. You've got, otherwise this is a channel, and you can stick, this channel is about a year long. So the problem with getting in on channels is you may be going in the right direction and eventually it works out. But the problem is that you're tying that money up for a long period of time. This is doing everything it looks correct to break that channel. We've got a green PTF here on the weekly. We've got some nice movement. We had a pullback when the bottom's holding. So I'm thinking, yeah, looks pretty good. And eventually we should, just based on the PTF on the daily chart, get above here. And on the weekly chart, it looks like all-time new highs way up here. Okay, so this looks actually really good. I don't think it's going to hurt you to wait for this to break the resistance and then see how the market reacts. Sometimes you get a pullback, sometimes you get follow through. But the key is if they break out of that, you're technically then out of the channel. And you've got a lot of room. You can still double your money just about on that. Okay, so maybe a little bit more patience, but let's put this on a watch list for everybody because this one actually is really, really good. Because if it does break, I think it's one that people might be interested in. So thank you for that. All right, let's keep going here. Good morning, everybody. I'm seeing a lot of good mornings in the chat area. Great to have everybody here. All right, Al, back again. DHR short. Let me just take a look at that. That was DHI we looked at before, so this is DHR. All right, let's see. Okay, give me a second. All right, and Bradley, you're up next. And you're thinking about going long on those. Okay, so we'll take a look at those. All right, so let's see what we got here on DHR. All right, red PTFs across the board. Again, that's this indicator down here, indicating more lows. So that's a good sign. Again, you're in the mature part of a downtrend. All right, yes, it looks good for another low, but here you got to be careful for the reversal, right? So just keep that always in mind. So I would hold this one short. I've used primarily the daily chart at this point. Let's take a look and see how this looks in terms of context, in terms of overall price movement. Let's just grab here a fib retracement, and let's see, I think it was right above there. Okay, so something like that. Let me just make sure I got that right. Yep. Okay, so it's right in the target zone for a fib retracement. So based on Elliott wave and the way that looks, to me, it looks like 3, 4, and then we'll have a 5 back to the upside. So I'm actually going to put this on the watch list for a long trade at some point. Okay, it's not ready yet. So we have red PTFs. So we're probably going to go deeper, not in deeper into this target zone before we get that. So you just have to be careful. So stop up here. I'd say if it breaks this low, let's see if this indicator remains red or turns yellow. And if it's yellow, then look for a turnaround and get out. All right, that's the way I would do it. All right, that's liquidity sitting down there as well. The next, it took out one liquidity here. Next liquidity is down here. Could it take this liquidity out? Anything is possible in the markets, but I don't think so. I think usually those fib retracements are respected, but we certainly could go down, what, another 20 points maybe. So keep an eye on that. All right, Bradley, you are up. All right, thinking about going long on these. So let's take a look. ELF. Let's type that one in. Gold, good, because I want to take a look at gold, and snow. We'll take a look at SNOW as well. All right. By the way, while these are loading, I'll just wish everybody a happy Memorial Day coming up, the start of the summer. Okay, so here we are. All right, thinking about going long. Okay, good. My only hesitation, unfortunately, is we have a red PTF over here. So this has got to either be yellow or green for a long-term buy at this point. Short term, we may go up, but my only concern here is that with that red PTF, I know we have a green one over here on the daily, but let's just see. I think probably we could go as high. It's 80.22 right now, so maybe 83.13, all the way up to 103 is the target that I would shoot for based on that green PTF on the daily. And then at that particular point, then it would be a better short trade, okay, to be in alignment with this chart. Still got a strong situation on the owl there. So we'll see, okay? So I would continue to watch it at this point. Let's put it on the watch list. But I think it's a little too soon for a long trade based on that PTF indicator on the weekly chart. This is why, you know, when you have the right tools, you can kind of zero in on timing a little better. So that PTF is really important, which brings us to gold. All right, and we'll look at the GLD gold ETF. And boy, gold has just been soaring as of recently. All right, certainly has been taken off. And you can certainly see that on these charts here. All right. So I don't need this little channel in here anymore. That was from before. All right. So what's the story with gold? What's it going to do? Well, first of all, you notice a lot of green PTFs. Okay. So more highs are coming. We also have a very strong owl on the weekly chart that is still strong. So we're still in wave 3. Now we have a little bit of a hesitation here. All right, so we're going to keep an eye on that. So we're getting into a little bit of kind of a topping sequence. So we kind of pulled back, and now we want to see how much of a pullback, or if it's over, that we're going to get on this. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on that. So let me just redo these fibs because these are on major pullbacks. And even if we get a pullback here on this leg, then we're looking at 288 to 269 as a possibility. However, we've already retraced into one of the zones. So basically on these retracements, how they work, this is a 70% area where most pullbacks, profit-taking pullbacks, whether it's a wave 4 or just a profit-taking pullback inside the wave, go to. 15% of the time, they're shallow, and they end up between a fib retracement of 23.6 and 38.2. Now, we did that already here. So there is a 15% probability that we go and make a new high on this wave from here to here. And then, of course, 15% probability is under the high probability zone, which is anywhere from here, roughly. Okay, so that's how the breakdown works. So in a case where I get the 15%, what I do personally, if I see strong enthusiasm coming back into the market, and let's say I want to buy, $10,000 worth of this, then I might only put 5,000 in right now. In case it drops back lower, I'll put the rest 5K in. Or I'll put the entire 10K in and make sure my stop is under structure under here. Okay, so that's up to you on how much you want to risk and put in. But I'm pretty confident we'll get another high here before we go into a major correction in gold. And then after that correction, which you can see clearly on the weekly chart here, after that correction, we go down at some point. Eventually, this will have to be redrawn because it makes new highs now. This will affect the target a little bit, not much, but a little bit. So let's say we're at 309 right now, right? So if this thing sells off and goes into this target area here, we're looking at a zone between 254 and 214, and this would be a buy zone. Okay. Now, if you wanted to not ride it down there, just draw a trend line. All right. If it breaks the trend line, get out. All right. And then don't get back in until it gets back down into the buy zone. That's kind of how I would work that. But gold is not done to the upside yet. The question is that eventually it will pull back significantly. But that's all. Not a change in trend, really, just a pullback. All right. So a long position here is a little bit, the trend is mature. All right. So do you want to go in down here or up here, which is a safer bet? It's just too much risk right here at this point. If you go in early on a trend, your risk is a lot lower and your rewards are a lot higher. So I'm going to let you decide on that. If you wanted to make it a short-term trade, go in here and go for the bet that it's going to go above the all-time high before selling off, which I think it will. And then you could take that trade. And then, when this indicator goes yellow, get out, that type of thing. All right. That's the way we would work that. All right. Let's take a look at snow. All right, thinking about going long on snow. Okay, so this one here, and we've looked at this many a time. Here's one where we're uptrend, and at this particular point, we're using this trend line as an area to get out. And this is a great example, all right? The trend is still up, but this is profit taking in here, okay? This little move down is profit taking. And so you've got to make a decision. Do you want to stay with that overall, or do you want to get out? Now, what's interesting about this is we had a little bit of a slice down, but notice the PTF was green, indicating more highs short term. So that happened, but there was not enough momentum in the trade to keep it green, so it turned yellow. So that, in conjunction with the trend line, is your first clue that maybe we're going to go into more of a significant correction at that point. All right. And we did, eventually have the red owl, which is measuring momentum here. So you had a lot of clues at this point to get out. Likewise, all right, then it reversed. You had a pyramid trading point, which is one of our indicators for long and short positions based on the fractal nature of the market. We filled this gap, okay, and this bottom was respected. All right, so that's kind of important. And then we had an incredibly bullish bar. You can see it down here, all right, on the turnaround. And then the pyramid formed after. And at that particular point, we look down here, wait for the green owl, make sure there's no red. And there's your long position at that point. And we've trailed the stop up for this leg right there. So in this case here, yeah, looks pretty good. Now, we broke out of this resistance, which is good on the weekly chart. So I'm liking that. And at this particular point, it looks pretty good for more highs coming because we have a green PTF. Here's the only issue. All right. I don't like to chase markets. And this to me is a chase. I like to get in right here. Okay. That's the place early on. So when you get in late, like the other stock we looked at, you could be subject to a profit taking wave. Not a change in trend, but an area here. So, you know, this is still pretty strong. This is turning strong. So I think maybe a few more highs here. We broke this area here, which is the same as that there. So I think probably going higher. The question is how much higher? And that is an area that you're going to have to take a look at maybe in the lower time frames to figure out. Maybe we can gauge here. So if that's a 1, that's a 2. We still might be in 3 on this one. I don't think that's enough of a pullback. Let's just say if it was. So maybe a short-term target somewhere up in that area is possible. And we're at 202. So you're not talking about much area up. So I think I would probably wait for the pullback. So if it gets up in here and retraces, this would be the buy area down here. That's the way I would do it. But certainly if this is a long-term investment for you, then you don't really care about pullbacks that much. But if you're short-term trading, you do. Okay. So that's just kind of one of those things. All right. Antonio, how are you? Always love smiley faces. All right. Let's see. Gene, let's see. Give us a like today. All right. And Stuart with Tesla. All right. Glad. Let's take a look at Tesla. And eventually we'll want to take a look at NVIDIA too. So Tesla's one that we re-recommended, all right, after it turned around off its big sell-off. And hopefully you were here because we did that, actually that recommendation here as well. And I'll walk you really through this very quickly here. And what we had here is an area of structure right here. And this here, just put that in there. This here was this area here. We had a turnaround and another turnaround and follow through. So basically good structure there. And notice the same thing happened here. We got the bounce. So you always have to look at the market in terms of its context, what it's done, where it got stopped before, where things turned around. Those are usually areas that could represent institutional order blocks and things of that nature. So you always want to look at that. So in a case like that, it hit that area and we got a pyramid right away, a change in momentum, and we're off to the races. We've always had the green PTF. So any pullback here was temporary. And we made a high, came back down. This high came on a bigger area of momentum on the owl than before. So that's key. So we did not have divergence, bearish divergence at all on the weekly chart. So everything here points to new highs with the target between 454 and 598. Now, could we get a little pullback, all right, and fill some of this fair value gap area in here? Sure. Okay, maybe get a pullback here and then it goes again. So the markets are constantly zigzagging their way to a top most of the time. Sometimes they do form micro channels and just keep going. But in this case here, I'm thinking, you know, you still got enough room on the target to make this a buy. So like last time, Tesla's still a buy on this. Okay. And Google, we haven't looked at Google in quite some time here in this room. So let's take a look at that. And the other one I want to look at is NVIDIA as well. But on the Google stock here, we had a nice movement down. All right. So Stu, one of the good things about this is that when you've had a move down like this and it rebounds, you're not chasing the market really. Okay, so I like that. So a powerhouse here. There's nothing really here. In other words, this chart here to me is not as exciting as Tesla or Nvidia at this point. You know, Tesla had a big move down, and it was polarized by, you know, Elon Musk's involvement in the Doge situation. And now that's coming to an end at this point on his part. You're getting a rebound, and he'll focus back on his companies and things like that. Plus Tesla, you know, if you look at the fundamentals on Tesla, they're not only into automobiles, but they're into robotics, which I personally think will be a big area going forward. Google, powerhouse. Okay, nothing more to say. Everybody knows it. But on this chart here, you know, from a technical standpoint, we pulled back. We're moving back up now. I have nothing on the indicator list that's telling me anything overwhelming about it. We don't have any green PTFs. We have marginal momentum on the daily and negative momentum still on the weekly. So for me, this is not a buy candidate. All right. From a fundamental standpoint, you could probably buy it, just put it in your hip pocket and wake up a couple years from now and be happy. But for right now, from a short-term analysis, I think it's that your money's better spent elsewhere. The other thing too is we are having a move up here. Okay, the question is, you know, is this going to dry up, come back down, or just keep going? And if you wanted to take a bet that it's going to keep going at this particular point, you know, you could draw a trend line, and you could just certainly on the long-term chart here, draw a trend line from here to here and get out if it goes below that. And if you want a short-term trend line, you just do it on this chart. Not sure it's that much difference really, but yeah, a little bit, I guess, but not much. But in any case, and you have a pyramid. So I'm not going to recommend this one, but you know, it's such a powerhouse that you know, it certainly could go on and make new highs, obviously at some point. All right, and let's see. Well. Let's see what we got here. All right, Tower. All right, so the Al, this is for you. Long position on Well. I don't think we've looked up that one before. So let's see what we got cooking on here. All right, again, extended to the upside. All right, I don't. I think you might be a little late to this party. I personally would wait for the pullback. And where is that pullback going to be? Well, let's just draw some fib retracements in here and see kind of where that personally could be here. And you're talking probably right around that area there. Are we going to go into there now? Might. We had a nice little leg down. And this could be what's going to be happening with the markets. We could be going back down before we make new highs. All right. So let's, you got to keep an eye on that. So I'd wait on this one. Okay. So this would be your buy zone down here. All right, let's keep going here. And Faye, good morning to you. Gene, how are you? Okay, the Qs. Let's take a look at that. All right. All right, so anyway, first pull down here. Whoops, sorry. First pull down here, green PTF now here, and a red PTF on the long term. So a little concerning on that. On all the indexes that we've looked at, we've had this configuration, right? So it makes it more difficult to analyze. Are we going to do this, go up here, go a little higher because this is green, or are we going to break out and make new highs? That's the $1 million question. Or are we going to go here? Is this an A, B, and then C and come down into the correction area that's further down? Certainly, possibility. All right, so right now it's a little bit dicey on knowing exactly what the market will do at this point. We have seen an AB. I always look for an ABC correction, so we got that. There's a 25% chance this indicator could be wrong, so we have to take that into effect as well. But you know, we may on both these charts could make another high and then sell off, and the indicator would be right. Okay. So, you know, makes one more high and then moves down. So I think the only way to play this is Gene, is to keep an eye on this every week and see what the market, if the market leaves us any clues of what it's going to want to do next. It certainly appears to me with the ABC configuration that will probably make more highs. And when you look at certain stocks like Nvidia and things like that that are part of the NASDAQ, they're all poised to make new highs. So I kind of, in my bias is that we'll make a new high before we significantly sell off. My only worry is the red PTF on that weekly chart. But, you know, that could stay red even if we make another high and still be right on the next sell-off. So I kind of think that's what's going to happen. All right. We'll see what happens. We're going to look for more clues. Now, if we pull back here a little bit, which would be normal profit taking, right? So point of inflection right about there. And then we see a rebound and we take this high out. Then we're going to go make new highs. That's pretty definitive. But if we see something like this, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. Okay. So basically, what I'm saying is, at the clue I'm looking for is that area going to be respected or not on the next pullback? So we'll have to wait and see. And that goes through for all the indexes, not just for this. Okay. So we'll take a look at that. So little bit of a interesting area where I'll be on for here. Okay. All right. Gold versus dollar. If you give me a symbol that's not forex, I can look it up. All right. Frank, let's see what we got cooking there. IWM. Frank, you are an IWM shorter. All right. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Yeah, I actually like it. Boy, that's a good one, Frank. Okay, why do I like it? All right, so right away, my eyes go to the PTFs that are red. Okay, we had a nice rebound, so you're not chasing the short. You looks to me like we came up here. This was structure here, but you know what? You also had this trend in structure here. Okay, so I'm liking that. So that was pretty good, specifically this upper line. So you had structure here, and it stopped it, and now it's moving down. So that's a good thing. No more long pyramids. They're intact, and looks to me pretty good. My only thing is I kind of like to see this turn red, but you know, you may get a pull up here, get a pyramid shape down here, then a move down here, and it will be red by then. So that's another confirmation type of thing you could do. But you have strong red on the weekly chart on the far right. Let's just do one more quick thing and just measure the retracement. So it went right into the target zone. So I would say yes. Okay. I put my stop up here and get out if it goes above that, because then it may go to this structure here. Okay. But this looks pretty good, I think, for a short trade. And then your target would be at least down here. So you got a good 2-to-1, almost 3-to-1. But then again, you may have a situation where it may go a little further than that. So you wait for a turnaround, okay? And maybe even draw some fib extensions in here as a possibility, okay? So pretty much right where the bottom is based off the PTF will put you smack into the lower range. So yes, okay, good. All right, let's take a look at your next one, CNCX. Did I type that one in right? I don't think that is even loading. I don't think that's correct. Okay, CNCX. All right, let's take a look at NVIDIA real quick. I wanted to look at that one. All right, so NVIDIA here, all right, hit the buy zone. Remember, this is usually where we recommend to buy. So we hit that. We had a reversal, and then we had the owl turn green. This is some of the checklists that we use before we buy. Target hit, structure, context looks good. We move down, we move back up. We have a bullish pyramid, and we're off to the races. So this looks pretty good. Our target on this is 170 to 224. Okay, on this one. All right, so it's a little more specific than the one on the target on the right. And that is probably primarily because we went higher here. All right, so we have to adjust those a little bit. All right, so there we are there. And yeah, so I'm going to put this one down as a buy still. Okay, so I think it's got a lot more move. So when I take a look at NVIDIA, which is a powerhouse, AI powerhouse, and then I take a look at the Qs and some of the indexes that kind of aren't as promising, so to speak, or not promising. I guess the right word is more exact than NVIDIA. When NVIDIA is poised to make a new high, you know it's going to bring up the entire NASDAQ market, right? So that's why I'm biased for more highs on the market. Now, don't get me wrong. I think a bear market is out there, but I don't think we're quite ready for that yet, okay, in terms of market structure. All right, so this is one that still looks pretty good. All right, let's go. Al's back with SBSW. SBSW. Take a look here. All right, so long. Okay, good. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So we had a nice area here, not chasing the market, turning it around, took out this structure, green here, nothing red here of significance. We have a green PTF just forming now, pyramids to the upside. Yeah, I'm liking it. Let's take a worst case scenario. Let's just say this is not the beginning of a huge, super huge trend that will take out highs. Let's say, let's be a little more conservative. Let's say, all right, well, maybe this will sell off again. I don't think it will because I think it's got a double bottom. But let's just say if we thought that, there's two ways you could do this. You could draw a fib retracement, and when you get into the high probability area here, which is 38.2 to 61.8%, that could be your short-term target, okay? So, you know, either way, this is a winner. So I'm going to put this one down as a buy for everybody because I think it looks pretty good, all right? All right, and Al is back with another here. So we got NEOG. NEOG. So we found some pretty good ones already today. All right, so we're going to wrap it up pretty soon here. I like to keep these about half an hour, but I also like to make sure I try to go through everybody. All right, no long yet. Okay, I think probably by now you can see why. Red, red. Okay, yeah, it looks like we had a little bounce, filled this gap, but we may head back down now that we filled the gap. So I put this on a watch list. I don't think it's bottomed yet. All right, let's go here. All right, thank you, Gene. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, NGD. All right, let's see what we've got here. All right, so long. Okay, well, you can be long, but it's too late to get long. Okay, I think the problem with this one is, again, I think it's more of a chase than a good entry. So wait for the pullback, and then we can take a look at it again. But I'd say no good for that. Okay. All right, Edward. Ooh, this is a nice comment. Thank you. Okay, great. Well, welcome. Thank you, Edward, for that nice comment. All right, let's go to Al OGN. Okay, long on this one too. Same thing. This one's closer, but not quite there yet. It will be a good long, as long as it doesn't go bankrupt. It will be a good long, but we have to have a turnaround. We don't have that yet. So let's put this on the watch list, and we'll watch it. But with this still red, that's a problem. Okay. So this is yellow now. That's good. So we may be getting close. Maybe it'll take out one more thing. let's just see if there's anything in the history. No, there's not a lot of history. So, when I see something get this low and there's a lot of history on the stock or whatever we're looking at, I go back and see the context. In other words, I go and take a look and see, okay, was there anything years ago or months ago that created structure in this area for a target or a stopping point? Okay. And in this case, there's not enough history, but we do still have a red PTF. Okay. So we got to be careful on that. All right, Jennifer, let's see what we got here. Can you look at, sure, URBN, Urban Outfitters. Give that a second to load. Hopefully I typed that in correctly. All right. Oh boy, big spike up. All right, let me just take a look at a little history here. Okay, boy, what a messy stock this would have been for years. Holy cow, back and forth, back and forth. All right. Well, we definitely got to move up. Again, I think I think you're chasing the market here. I think you got to be really careful. Let me just see how much history we have here on this. Open this up a little bit. So we're in new all-time high area here. I think I would wait for a bigger pullback. I don't think I would chase this. I think you got to sometimes be careful. This could be the beginning of something big, or it could be a flash point where we move back down at some point. So not really sure on this one. I don't really like the price structure on that one too much. Okay, so that's the only problem with that one. And we got a fair value gap that formed here. Let me just mark that. So that formed here. You might even get another one that forms. So that, believe it or not, you usually see those marking the beginning of a big trend. But what happens a lot of times with this, and if you get another one in here, it keeps going up. Hey, great. But if you have another fair value gap in here, what tends to happen with this thing is you might get a move up and then you get a move down. All right. Now, I can tell you right away why this took off, since this may be an uptrend that's actually going to be sustained, is this fair value gap here. Okay. That was a big one. And look at prices came right back down to it, filled it, and then took off. That's a very bullish sign. And there, usually when this happens on a spring out, traders, more experienced traders, are looking and put their buy orders, or at least look for a buy in that fair value gap area. And they're looking for the market to test that again. All right, don't forget the market's an auction. So if you have a lot of orders sitting here, they don't forget that, and they tend to go back and get those. Okay, so keep that in mind. I don't like to chase markets, so I probably would not jump into this, but this certainly could be the beginning of something big. So maybe the way I would play this is, if you're going to go in now, I think you could safely put your stop way down here, but that's 30 points down, right? So what the other area you could do on this is put your, since they already hit this fair value gap, put your stop under here. What I've noticed a lot of times is they come down and completely go and take out all the orders and go down a little further, especially if the institutions want to drive it back up, because this is where they're picking up liquidity right here. Okay. So, in any case, if you go long, you got to put your stop pretty low at 50, or you can wait for a pullback. But I do think there's going to probably be some legs on that. It just looks like it. Okay, hopefully that helped you. So I'll let you decide on how you want to play that. I don't think I'm going to put a buy on that quite yet. I think maybe let's have it pull back, but maybe let's put this on the watch list, okay? Because I think it's worth watching. All right, again, if you're a long-term investor and you want to go ahead and go into that, you certainly Won't care if it pulls back a little bit. All right. All right. So Gene, welcome. Yep. Jennifer, welcome. All right. Yep. IBM is a good one. All right. It's CNXC. CNXC. I think this was the other one you wanted to look at there. And let's see if that loads. Looks like that one's working. Okay. So, were you short on this one? I think you were, right? So let me just go back and see if I can find yours. Oh boy, I don't see it. Okay. All right. Anyway, on this one here, it's looking pretty good for a long position. Can't remember if you wanted to go short on this or long, but this actually looks pretty good. So we took out the trend line here. Okay. We've got green over here. We've got green over here. We had structure down here. And boy, I'm liking it. All right. So let me just put this down. I think this is a good one for a buy at this particular point. Pulled back after spiking up. See, this is the one I'm worried about on that other one we looked at. Okay. Are you going to get a pull back and then more surge forward? So that's why I don't like to chase spikes or markets when they've moved up so quickly. But this one now, pulled back, more of an orderly move up. So I'm liking this. What I would do on this for a target is you could use the PTF, that's 65. Or what we could do is just say if we get a pullback, the pullback should reach 100. Okay. So maybe if you go in now, stop under here. Okay. Take out some shares when the PTF here turns yellow and keep the rest and keep your stop above your entry. And then you have basically a risk-free trade trying to make it to 100. Okay. All right. So there we have it. Yep. NVIDIA is the winner still. Okay. Eventually it'll get too close to the target. And SBSW. Yep. That's a winner here. All right. Yes, long. Okay, good, Frank. So that's the long. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Okay, for today. So great picks today. Let me just really quickly go over what we found. So on the buy list, we've got Tesla, NVIDIA. We got IWM, but to the short side. So those people wanting to venture out into the world of shorting stocks, IWM is looking like a good possibility. We have SBSW, CNXC. So thank you, everybody. Great picks today. On the watch list, these are not to be taken right now, but we're going to come back and take a look at those if you bring them back next week. GameStop, GME, DHR, ELF, OGN, URBN. That goes on the watch list. So those are not, excuse me, those are not buys right now. So listen, everybody, have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll be back next Friday. So feel free to bring whatever you want back next week, and have a good one. Summer is here. Okay, great. All right, thank you. Good turnout today. Great, again, great stock picks, and that's thanks to you. And we'll see you back here next week. So have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.